So as many of you know, I'm a big fan of the Godox flash system, so when they reached out to me to review their new mini flash, the Godox IM30, I said sure, why not? So full disclosure, they did send this flash out to me to review for free, but as always, I'll give you my honest and fair opinion. So I'm not going to spend too much time on the specs of this flash. I mean, it's small, it's well made, it's full manual. You can adjust it via the power adjustment dial here from 1/64 up to full power. It also has a nice little 2.5mm sync pin if you want to hook it up to, say, your older film cameras, and it runs on 2 AAA batteries. There's also an optical sensor here, so you can trigger the flash off camera. It can operate in both S1 and S2 modes. On a fully charged set of batteries, you'll get about 230 shots, and the recycle time will be about 4 seconds. So I think a lot of people are going to use the flash directly mounted to their camera like this, and for that it's perfectly fine. I mean, it's very small, lightweight, easy to adjust, and it works with just about every camera. All you need is a hot shoe with a center pin, and you're good to go. But like any flash that you mount on camera and is pointing directly at your subject, you're going to get that very harsh lighting look, and it's not the flash's fault, it's just the way it's being used. So take, for example, these 3 shots here that I took with 3 different flashes. And as you can see, these images are virtually identical. For all intents and purposes, they're exactly the same, other than a slight color shift on the first one. But here are the flashes that I used for each shot. And the first one is actually the Godox V1, which is a full-size round head flash. And here's a couple more showing you what a picture would look like with and without flash. Now this flash can be triggered off camera via the optical trigger, so I mounted it here on a light stand with an umbrella. And I'm going to trigger it using the on-camera FLM3 flash on my Olympus camera, and this is the shot I got here. Now speaking of the Olympus FLM3, this is a great little flash that was included with some of the Olympus cameras, not all, and it really has a couple of advantages over the Godox flash and a couple of key disadvantages, and the reason I don't really bring this with me very much. And I'll probably be bringing this a lot more often. So let me talk about the advantages first. One, it has this rotatable head. So this allows you to sort of bounce the light off a wall or off a ceiling, so you can get ultimately a little bit softer light onto your subject rather than pointing it straight at them and getting that direct flash kind of look. 2 is it doesn't need any batteries. It actually draws its power from your camera's battery. So you can kind of look at that as a pro or con, but I consider it a pro because I don't have to remember to bring batteries or charge the flash. It's always ready to go when I put it on my Olympus camera. And all I have to do is just remember to bring a couple extra spare batteries for my camera, and I don't have to worry about the flash. Now as a con, it does draw, I would say on average, 10 to 20% of your battery's life in your camera, depending how much you use it. If you're using it a lot and you have, say, the smaller battery, like in the EM5 or OM5, this can draw as much as 50% of that battery life. But for the most part, just bring a couple extra spares for your camera, you'll be okay. Now, 2 of the key disadvantages to this flash, and the reason I don't really take it with me very often, is one is it can't be used off camera at all. And I like to use my flashes off camera quite often, whether I'm doing, say, close-up photography of a flower or some bugs, or maybe I want to take a picture of a person and I want to hold the flash up over my shoulder and get some off-camera type lighting. It's just not possible with this flash at all. Number 2 is it can only be used with Olympus and OM system cameras. And a lot of times I like to take other camera systems with me, whether it's my Fuji or my Sony or my Nikon or maybe even a film camera. I'm not going to be able to use this flash at all with any of those other camera systems. So the Godox IM30 solves those problems, right? I can use this with just about any camera system, and also I can use this off camera, either via the optical trigger here, or using a long PC sync cord. I can hand hold this anywhere I want if I want to do some off-camera lighting. Now there's a couple of things you need to consider when you're using a small flash like this, because it sits pretty low on the camera, unlike a full-size flash which sits up pretty high. This has the potential to cast a shadow off of the lens in the lower part of your frame. So if you're shooting very wide angle with a large lens, so for example this is my 12-40 Pro, if I put the lens hood on this, which extends it out to about this far, I will see a shadow in the bottom of the frame, particularly if I'm like very close, say 3 to 6 feet away. As I move back away from my subject, the shadow is still there, but it's mitigated quite a bit because you're standing further away, but it's there. On longer lenses, say semi-telephotos like a 70 to 200, or in my case would be a 35 to 100, the field of view is pretty narrow, so I didn't notice the shadow in that situation. But when I was shooting wide angle at 12 millimeters with the lens hood on, I did see a very distinct shadow in the bottom of the frame. The second thing is, and it's not really specific to this flash either, and that is the optical trigger on here. I find optical triggers are not very reliable, especially outdoors. Now, if I'm in a low light situation like indoors in a studio and it's not very bright, I really don't have any problems with this. It works pretty well. But as soon as I go outside or the light levels increase, yeah, these get saturated or something, and it's just not able to sense other flashes firing to trigger this. So you're not really going to be able to use this off camera via the optical trigger. An option would be maybe you get a wireless transmitter receiver set. Most of them have PC sync ports built into them that you can use the PC sync port on this flash and fire them on a wireless trigger basis that way. But those triggers will probably end up costing more than this flash, so it doesn't make any sense to me to go that way. I think the best way to use this flash off camera is like I talked about, either with the PC sync cord, use a long one and do it handheld, or just fire it manually when the flash doesn't have to be in sync with the camera, say, for example, when you're doing bulb mode or long exposure. So overall, I think it's a pretty good flash. I mean, for $34.99, there's really not much to complain about. It's well made, it's easy to use, and it has some off-camera options. So that's all I have for today. I hope you enjoyed this review. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.